Hi everyone and welcome to a Theme Park Worldwide news update. A couple of weeks ago it was announced that Cedar Fair and Six Flags, two huge American theme park companies, will be joining together to create one expansive amusement park operator. In this video I'm going to share my thoughts on what I think this means for the future of the parks and also theme parks in general throughout the USA, and along with that go through the facts and figures that we know so far about this deal. Now I've waited a couple of weeks before filming this because it's actually a huge announcement and there's a lot of information to really go into for this, so I didn't want to kind of jump straight in and talk about things that I don't really know that much about. I wanted to look more in detail at the companies themselves, Cedar Fair and Six Flags, before waiting to film this, and I've kind of collected all the information together, and yeah, I've kind of thought of everything with this deal and what it could mean for the future of these parks and just in general parks throughout the USA that of course is home to some of the best rides, the best theme parks anywhere in the world. So yeah, let's get straight into it by talking about the deal itself. This is one that we really didn't see coming. In the past, there's been other companies that have kind of wanted to do something similar to this. However, it never really happened. However, it is happening, and yeah, Cedar Fair and Six Flags are merging together. So yeah, this is really interesting news, and in fact, all the times I've been covering theme park updates, this is one of the biggest announcements that we've seen in all the years I've been doing this, you know, so really fascinating stuff. Now, of course, they are joining together to create this massive company. What does that mean? How many different theme parks and properties will they have? So the combined company will actually be worth more than $3.5 billion. So we're talking a massive amount of money. And yeah, in terms of what they're going to own, of course, properties throughout 3 countries, the United States, Canada, and also Mexico. And along with that, that will mean there's 27 amusement parks, 15 water parks and 9 resort properties throughout them 3 countries, all parts of this one company that's joined together that was previously 2. We're talking a lot of parks here, aren't we? Like, imagine this. I mean, straight away, you think about the annual passes that they offer, the season passes. You know, it's going to cover all these parks. Like, they've already said they are looking at that option, which will be fascinating to see and how much that is going to be. Covering all that, I mean, 27 different amusement parks, 15 water parks and 9 resorts. That is a massive theme park company, it really is, and you can see why it's going to be worth as much as $3.5 billion. Now, also they've got a portfolio of IP across the 2 different companies that will be merging together as well. Some of that does include Looney Tunes, the DC Comics, and Peanuts as well. So yeah, we could be seeing some of the IP from Six Flags mixed into Cedar Fair parks and vice versa as well, which could be quite interesting in terms of names and themes and changing things up, and also new developments as well. Now, Six Flags and Cedar Fair also anticipates that $120 million will be made in cost savings within 2 years of actually finalising this deal, which is expected to be early 2024. So in terms of cost savings there, I want you to look into that more. Does that mean, you know, cost cutting at the parks on investments? It doesn't seem so. It seems to me like that's more a back of house thing from doing the research, and because the companies are being joined, that means they can save money on other things what isn't really going to impact the experience. So yeah, that was quite interesting to read more into that. Yeah, they're claiming that because the companies are joining together, there's some resources that they've got that of course will be able to be joined together because of that. So now of course there's been all sorts of deals like this that have been spoke about in the past, and none of them have gone through. And yeah, it's really quite big news, isn't it, that this is happening. Now, like I say, there's been potential deals before. Let me just talk a little bit about those. Six Flags previously made an offer for Cedar Fair back in 2019 and that got rejected. SeaWorld also approached Cedar Fair to purchase the properties last year and that was turned down and rejected. And then of course here we are the year later, and the 2 companies merging together to create this one big theme park powerhouse, if you like, in the USA. Now the company's new formed board will include 6 directors from Cedar Fair and 6 from Six Flags. And along with that, once the deal actually closes, the combined company will operate under the name Six Flags. So yeah, I'll talk more about that a little bit later in the video. So yeah, this is big news, isn't it? Merging together the 2 biggest theme park companies in the US and 2 of the most recognizable brands around the world, especially Six Flags. I know a lot of people who aren't particularly into theme parks and they've heard of Six Flags. Not so much Cedar Fair. They may have heard of Cedar Point and some of the other parks, but yeah, in terms of the actual company name, the Six Flags name is certainly the more recognised globally. So it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that that's the name they're going to be pushing moving forwards. But what does that mean for the names of other parks? And I cannot wait to see what happens with this one. Now, in terms of my general thoughts on it, we've kind of had the facts and figures there. Very impressive numbers. There's some positives and there's some negatives to this. Let's start off then with a positive for this deal. And I briefly touched on this earlier on, but I'm going to talk more in detail about this now. That is the fact they're looking at a combined annual pass, a season pass for all of the parks and properties across Cedar Fair and Six Flags. Now, of course, at the moment, the offer passes for both of them companies. They'll be looking at one ultimate pass that'll get you into all these attractions. I see that as a positive thing because, of course, at the moment, if you live in the US or you're doing a big road trip like we did earlier in the year, you will buy a pass for Six Flags and Cedar Fair. It would be a lot easier having one pass that gets you into potentially 27 amusement parks and 15 water parks. I mean, they might do different ones, different levels like they currently do at the moment, like your premium passes, your standards, that sort of thing. But still, the fact they could be a combined pass for all of these parks and attractions, I'd see that as a good thing. And from a cost point of view, Six Flags passes, I'd say, are quite cheap actually at the moment. Cedar Fair passes are a little bit more. However, you combine them together, it's still quite expensive when you're buying them both. So buying one pass, ultimately, it's going to be more than it currently is now to buy either a Cedar Fair or a Six Flags. But I don't think it will be as high as what a lot of people think. So yeah, they really want to get you into them parks. And once you're there, you spend more on parking and fast track and merchandise and all that sort of stuff. And of course, the food prices, which are extortionate in the parks in the US compared to Europe. So yeah, that's where they really get the money in at these parks. So yeah, I think it'll be a good thing moving forwards to have one pass. And also it means the discounts can be kind of the same across all the parks. People know if you've got parking included at the malls. I'd say that is a positive. Let's move then from a positive into a negative from this, and that is general investment. People have been talking about a monopoly, they're owning that much stuff. We know what that's like here in the UK with Merlin that own a lot of our parks, and that's the thing in the US. Yes, there's a lot of parks that Cedar Fair and Six Flags own, but there's a lot of other independent parks too. However, it is still going to be kind of a monopoly in a way across all these parks, which does then mean, do they need to invest as much into the parks to get people going? There's not as much competition. We've seen that for years here in the UK because of Merlin owning a lot of our big parks. Yes, we're kind of coming out of that now and having a lot of investment, but still, it's took a long time to get to that stage. I do worry that we could see less investment in the parks because you've not got as much competition. However, it is the US, and of course, people go to these parks for big rides, big thrills. So would they be able to get away with not investing as much? I guess it all depends on the shareholders and how that goes. But I can definitely see there being, at least initially, a decrease in investment until they decide exactly what's happening. Another positive to this, in my opinion, is the fact that for them, from like a marketing point of view, it kind of looks really good for them, doesn't it? Having all these parks, getting people's trust in, and also thinking, oh, I've visited this park, maybe I wouldn't have done this one before. So getting people to kind of check out more parks. Here at Theme Park Worldwide, we're all about encouraging people to try different places, go to new theme parks. And I do feel like this could make it easier. I'm mainly talking for international visitors, but also the US is massive. So people would travel to an area and think, oh, we've got these passes. But there's another park nearby. They could look at doing deals between parks that are closer because there's some Cedar Fair and Six Flags properties that are very close. So that could be a positive as well, in my opinion. And really another negative then about this one, what I've been thinking about, is the general upkeep of the parks. You've got to think, if you're owning up to 27 amusement parks, 15 water parks, these different resort properties, you've got a lot more to maintain and manage. And comparing Merlin again here in the UK, I think that's been a big issue for them in the past, owning that many attractions, and yeah, just too much to look after, too much to maintain. And I'm not really talking about ride maintenance here. Of course, ride maintenance is the priority. It will always get done at the parks. It needs to keep everybody safe. That's always the ultimate priority at the parks. But I'm talking general wear and tear around the park, paint peeling off, facades needing redoing, theming replacements and upgrades. Owning this many parks, is it going to be too much for them to manage. And the final point I want to make is about them IPs. So of course we know that, yeah, you've got the Looney Tunes IP, you've got DC Comics, Peanuts, and others that all come together. You know, this could be a positive or a negative, really. We could see rides potentially be changed to certain sponsorships or IPs. You know me, I don't really like intellectual property anyway, but still, you get a lot of that in the parks in the US, at Cedar Fair and Six Flags especially. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see more of them brands kind of move. But yeah, the final kind of thing I want to talk about with this is the names. So obviously we know that the company is going to be operating under the name Six Flags. What does that mean for the Cedar Fair parks? Kings Island, Cedar Point, Knott's Berry Farm, all the others. You know, does it mean they're going to become Six Flags parks? What I would like to see them do, and what I'm thinking may happen, is it would be something like Cedar Point, a Six Flags park underneath in small text. That's what I'd like to see them do. I think they'll do that. I don't think they're going to be like Six Flags Cedar Point. I hope not. Or Six Flags Kings Island. I don't think that'd look great. I prefer them to keep their kind of, you know, blue and red colour scheme, so to speak, from Cedar Fair. But then underneath, a Six Flags park in nice text. That'd look great. Another option here is we could see a complete rebrand of the whole company. New logos across all the parks, even the Six Flags parks, and the whole thing looking different. New logo for Six Flags, that's been the same for many years. They may look at that, but then also it's a recognisable brand as well. So there's so much to talk about, so much to dissect with this. I look forward to finding out more. The deal's set to close early 2024, but this is happening. It seems like everything's going through. And yeah, here we are a couple of weeks after the announcement, talking in detail about it. And in general, they're my thoughts on it. I mean, yeah, there's some positives, there's some negatives. However, we're not going to know the full impact this is going to have for a couple of years, I don't think. You know, 25, 26, we'll start thinking, actually, you know, was this good or was this bad? But I'd love to know your thoughts. It's been a big discussion these past couple of weeks. And also, it's some of the biggest theme park news that I've ever spoke about on the channel. You know, it really is a massive deal. Two big companies that have been rivals for all these years, building rival attractions and all that kind of stuff. And now they're merging together. So who knows what's going to happen? However, I do feel a little bit excited for this and seeing what happens. But also, there's a part of me that's like, oh, you know, I do worry for investment in the future and that head-to-head kind of battle. But there we go. Thanks for joining us here at Theme Park Worldwide. And that leaves me with one final thing to say. Get out there and keep on riding. See you in the next video.